In this video, it's my pleasure to be interviewing Jason Lee. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. My book, Backgammon, Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description to where you can get it. And if you're interested in lessons, please contact me via email. Again, in this interview, I'm delighted to be interviewing Jason Lee. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
Oh, Alec, nice to be here with you.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Great. Looking forward to talking.
Likewise. And where are you joining us from?
So I live in Rockville, Maryland.
Rockville, Maryland. Is that
just outside of Washington, D.C.?
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, great. So how's the weather there nowadays?
It's actually quite nice today.
Really? Is it cooling down?
It is starting to cool down, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. We're looking forward to talking to you about backgammon, all sorts of stuff. I'd like to start with a little biographical information, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Please tell us, where'd you grow up and do your education?
So I grew up in California. I lived in various places in California: Humboldt County, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo, San Diego. I studied math in school. I got a bachelor's degree in math from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And then I went to graduate school. I got a PhD in math from UC San Diego. My specialization was combinatorial game theory, which has nothing to do with backgammon.
But it's game theory.
It is game theory. So some of the thought processes are the same, but the kinds of things that I studied are not applicable to backgammon, because in combinatorial game theory, you specifically study games that have no elements of chance in them. And of course, backgammon very much has elements of chance.
So what games did you study, like chess or something?
Well, things like chess, but there are really more mathematical games. Like NIM is a very common example of a mathematical game. And I did a lot of mathematical analysis of games like this. But during graduate school, I was playing a lot of backgammon too. So, I got to mix a little of these.
That's actually when I started getting into like the backgammon that we play nowadays. When I was in graduate school myself, I found a group there and we started playing, and that's when I first learned to play with the doubling cube and all these other rules. So great. And now you're in Maryland.
Now I live in Maryland, so I moved out east for a job with my wife, and so we've lived here for a little over 10 years now.
Okay, great. So you're married. You don't have kids, right?
No kids. I have 2 dogs, and we are plenty busy.
Yeah, that's why you look so young. And you're a professor at
Yes, I'm a college math professor. I teach math. I teach a lot of things like calculus, algebra, pre-calculus. Discrete math is a very common class that I teach that I have a lot of fun with.
What is discrete math?
Discrete math is mathematics designed for people who are interested in studying computer science. So we do a lot of logic, set theory, proofs, like proofs by induction, a lot of things like that, combinatorics, counting things.
Yeah, I've met multiple backgammon players that are involved in math, either at the college level like yourself or students studying math. So that's right. I know there is a lot of math in backgammon, probably a different kind of math, but I'm sure it doesn't hurt to have that background.
It does help. I feel like I'm comfortable talking about and thinking about mathematical concepts in backgammon. So that certainly helps a little bit.
Yeah. So how'd you first get into backgammon?
Well, I first learned how to play backgammon by playing against my mom when I was a teenager. And there was one summer when I was a teenager, we played what I think was a 1,000 point match, and we played over the course of a whole summer. And I won this match when my mother reluctantly took a 32 cube in a position where I think she probably should have dropped. We played we had a cardboard board, and we played every day, for an hour or so, and it took the whole summer, and it was really a lot of fun. I played a lot in college, but not on a physical board. I racked up a lot of play on Fibs, the first internet backgammon server,
Yes,
by
I remember
using
that.
Telnet and playing with the X's and O's. And I would connect over a 2400 BPS modem. I'm really betraying a little bit about my age when I talk about playing backgammon over a 2400 BPS modem. But that was a lot of fun. Played in graduate school was the first time I started playing more seriously by playing over the board. I played in the San Diego Backgammon Club, and it was in 2004 that I played in my first ABT tournament, which was really quite a thrill to be able to do.
Was that in San Diego?
That was in Los Angeles.
Oh,
I
okay.
played in a lot of Pat Gibson's tournaments until I moved out to Maryland.
That must have been at the Airtel Hotel back then.
The first one that I played in was actually at the AR Private Club. I think it was the
Oh,
last time that they had the tournament at the AR Private Club.
I used to play there all the time, and
Right.
he used to have his weekly tournaments,
Yes.
once a week there, and
And once
once
a
a
week
week
somewhere else, right?
elsewhere. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
changed a few times. And after COVID, the club closed for a variety of reasons. Um, but now we play at different places, and now he has at that point, after the AR Club, he was having the large tournaments at the Airtel in Van Nuys, and now
Right.
it's at a hotel near the airport, the Hilton
Yeah.
X. That's actually coming up, and I'm excited about that. You're not going to make it to that, are you?
I'm not going to make it, but all of the tournaments in LA have always been great. I know Pat Gibson's not running these anymore. Is he sort of like a consultant now? Because
So he's the tournament director, and
uh-huh.
Candace Mayron is doing all the
Right.
organizational stuff. I mean, Patrick does like doing the running the tournament in terms of being
I
the
see. Yeah.
director. He just doesn't want to deal with all the marketing aspects and the
Yeah.
organizational things. So she does a great job. I'm going to be helping her with that. I'll be helping with the commentary on the streaming, and then I'm going to do a talk with Frank Frigo is going to do the talk about how
Terrific.
the World Championships. I think
Yeah. Great.
morning, and Saturday morning I'm going to be doing a back game quiz, um, and then a talk about that, and then I'm going to have a book signing. So
That's great.
that should be
I
fun.
always loved going to Pat Gibson's tournaments. He runs a great tournament.
Yeah, he's been
Never
doing
been
it.
disappointed.
Yeah, he's been doing it for I think over 40 years, and I think
Yeah.
he and Carol Joy Cole are the only ones that have been doing it that long. That's a long
That's
time.
amazing.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, Pat Gibson will send me an email. He'll dig up some photos from his archives and he'll send me, yeah, look at this photo from, when you were in my tournament in 2007. I just love it every time he does that.
Yeah, and you look the same.
Uh, well, if you look closely, there are some differences.
Yeah. So what kinds of hobbies and interests do you have outside of backgammon?
Yeah, I like to read when I have time. I bicycle. I last summer I did a trip where I biked from Pittsburgh to Washington over the course of 6 days. It was a tremendous trip for me. I watch way too much baseball. Those are the things I like to do. And now that it's not baseball season, I feel like it's time to hibernate until it is time for baseball.
Do you have a favorite baseball team?
Well, I grew up in Northern California, so I root for the Giants.
The Giants. Okay.
Yeah. I
That's
went to high
there.
school in San Francisco, and
Okay.
those were the first games I went to.
There's some of them are Giants fans and some of them are A's fans, but there's
Yeah,
not that
right.
much of a rivalry between the two.
No, not so much. I mean, there was, when I was in high school is when they had the World Series between the Giants and the A's that was interrupted by the earthquake.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So you've been playing for a long time. What have you done to improve your game? Because now you're an open level player.
Yeah. So when I'll tell the story later about playing in my first ABT event. Um, at the time, I entered the open division in my first ABT event. I don't know if that was such a good idea, but the story will come later about maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I do remember very early on when as I told you, I was playing on Fibs, and I was sort of, really interested in the game, but, didn't know how to improve the game. And I remember very vividly one day being in a used bookstore, and I happened upon Paul McGreal's book. And I said, oh, I've heard of this book. I need to get this. I bought the book. I read it cover to cover, opened my eyes to concepts that seemed obvious, but I had never implemented it. Immediately, my rating on Fibs shot up 100 points because I started implementing many of McGreal's ideas. And I mean, to this day, I'll get any book I can get my hands on about backgammon. There have been some great books that have come out even just in the last few years. I wish I had more time to read them, because when you read a backgammon book, you have to read it more than once. You also have to participate in the book. So the best way to get something out of a backgammon book is to read it, look at a position. First of all, decide what you're going to do, right? You don't just want to look at the position and then look at the analysis. What are you going to do? Why are you going to do it? Examine all the features of the position and say, well, this is why I'm going to make this move. Because you might end up getting the play correct, but for the wrong reason. Well, then the next thing you need to do is read the analysis that the author has provided. And now it's time for you to do the work, which is you need to open up your favorite bot, whether it's XG or GNU or BG Blitz or Snowy or whatever it is that you have, and put in that position, and now make some changes and say, what happens if I move this checker over here? How does it change the analysis of the position? That's how you can get the most out of a backgammon book.
Yeah, I agree.
Didn't start doing that until I got my hands on a backgammon bot for the first time, which at the time was Snowy. And I started playing with Snowy and analyzing my matches that I played on Fibs. And again, immediately my rating shot up another 100 points, because now I was starting to see more concepts. Of course, when you play with a bot, you can only just get answers. You can't get reasons. And so I felt like I needed more than that. But those two events in my life really propelled me on the path to starting to learn about backgammon. And how to learn about backgammon. It's the same thing when I teach math, right? And so I think it's important to have a framework of how you are going to learn. And although I wish I had more time to spend studying backgammon, I do feel like I have a reasonable framework for how to study backgammon.
Yeah, that's great. I think I definitely agree with you about that. And a lot of people have asked, okay, how am I going to learn from this computer if it doesn't tell me anything? But that's exactly what I tell my students to do, is change the position, make variants, and see what happens. That's outstanding advice. So you first started playing in a group in San Diego when you were in college or graduate school?
Yeah, that was in graduate school.
How did you find out about that group?
Well, at the time I was hungry to play backgammon. So you just do a web search and wow, this place is playing, and it's within walking distance of where I lived. And so I started playing pretty regularly there. And that was a really great experience. And that's what propelled me to start playing in the ABT event. I met people there that, told me about this wider world of backgammon. And
Yeah.
so that was great for me.
So that's a great way. I was going to ask you how you think we can get more people involved and attract new players and things like that. I know. So you did the web search. What are the other things that we can do, in your opinion?
Well, nowadays we have a little bit more advantages that we can leverage. I always like to say that the one real positive thing that came out of the pandemic was that we have normalized internet video calls. I have this idea that we could offer, by we, I mean the broader backgammon community, could offer free lessons to every beginner entrant to an ABT event. And I don't think this would be a huge imposition upon the people in the backgammon world. Because if you took every person at an ABT event who is either an open level player or an intermediate level player and said, would you be willing to give one lesson to a backgammon player for free to a beginner, almost everybody would say yes, and the beginner would be able to get something out of it. And I think that if you do that, these people who are, just starting out learning the game, and just learning the basics of strategy, they'll start learning about what the strong players think about. Just basic things like counting pips, counting the number of shots, concepts like safe versus bold, the efficiency of your checkers, just to get started. And you will open people's eyes to the idea of this broader world of strategy, that it's not just about luck and, who can roll double sixes at the right time, that we are thinking about managing our luck. That yes, we are going to have swings up and down, but we need to manage that so that when the luck happens, we can take most advantage of it, that we can make it so that the luck happens more often for us. And I think that offering lessons to beginners is a great way to do that. And I tried to do this at the last tournament I went to. It was at the Cherry Blossom tournament. And I think I didn't get the details quite right, but I made this offer because I gave a presentation to beginners. And the presentation was about how to use extreme gammon. And as part of it, I made an offer to everybody who was in the audience. I said, contact me and I'll give you a free backgammon lesson. And one person took me up on that. And I think I need to market it in a better way. I think I need to be more proactive about reaching out to people. But I bet if we can do that, we will get more people to come back. I don't have very many good ideas about how to get people in the first place. My ideas are a little bit more about how to keep them once we have them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. That's actually something I could easily do, is just like even host a group lesson on.
I think a group lesson would be a great way to do it. It would
Yeah,
be very efficient.
yeah. A lot of times what I do is I'll have the student play against XG, and then we kind of go through the thought process and
Yeah.
see the results and analyze it. So that's a great idea. I've asked the same question to multiple people, and no one's actually mentioned that. This is a very good idea.
So I'm going
Um,
to be trying to push this idea a little bit further. Now, I like your idea about the group lesson. I think this is probably going to be a great way to go. This is going to be, if this is going to be implemented on a broader basis, we need some more buy-in from tournament directors to help collect contact information from beginners and to be able to contact them after the tournament to push this idea.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, we could
But
certainly.
the key here, you make it free and you say, listen, just show up. We're gonna have fun here, and you could get lots of different open level players or intermediate level players to help out with this. I think you may get a lot of buy-in from people on all ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, maybe I'll do something like that if we could, promote it on these social media forums that we
Right.
have.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the other thing that's helping us nowadays is these social media forums that will, they have a pretty wide reach. A lot of these new Facebook groups, have a very wide reach.
they do. Yeah, so that would be great. And so I know you've also been involved a lot with the USBGF. I think both of us have been members, at least almost since its inception, for over 10 years. I haven't been too involved in it myself, but I know you've been involved. Tell us what kinds of things you've been doing.
Well, my main contribution to the USBGF was and has been running the online match. This was conceived in 2012. At the time, I did a lot of discussion with Karen Davis. And what I told her is I really want this to be my main volunteer contribution to the USBGF. So let me describe what the online match is. It is a match that is played at the pace of one move per day. And on one side of the match, you should imagine that it's the entire USBGF membership, anybody who wants to participate. And on the other side of the board is one player. And for 10 years, that one player was Neil Kazaros. And we would play at this pace of one move per day. When it was time for the USBGF members to make a move, what would happen is there would be a vote on the website, and you could cast your vote for what move you want to make, and whichever move got the most votes, that's the move that would actually get played in the match. Then it would be Neil's turn, and he would make a move. And then part of what would make all this tick is that Neil would write commentary on his move. He would say, okay, well, I'm going to make this play, and here's why. And then for the side of the USBGF members, we would have a guest expert who would offer commentary on the moves that were being made. And we ran through a lot of different guest commentators, all of whom did an amazing job. We started off with Marty Storer. Most recently, we had Grant Hoffman. And that's what would make it almost like a mini lesson every day. So you would log in each day and you would see the voting on the previous day's vote, which move won the vote. And then in conjunction with that, you would see commentary from the guest expert to say, well, this is the play that I would have made in this position, and here's why. Of course, we would provide also rollout information from XG, but having that expert commentary really made the whole thing sing, because then, like I said, you're getting a lesson every day, and you get to follow the progression of this match. Each match, which we would do 11-point matches, each match would take around 6 months to play, from the beginning to the end. And we would get, commentary the whole time. And it really worked out great. The online match has been on hiatus for a little while, and we're bringing it back. By the time you see this video, the new match will have started, and we've got new people involved. I'm coming back as the editor, which is the person who is sort of managing the behind the scenes stuff and getting everything taken care of.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I remember, and I don't know if this was the same or different, when it was on the BGO website by Stick Rice.
That's right. So I did a little bit of that from time to time, in association with, well, so it was a different online match, but it was a very similar concept. And that's also sort of fallen off. I'd be great if we could get that going again too. That was a different concept, because instead of one person versus many, there were two teams that played against each other, rather than a one specific opponent. So Alex, you want to tell us what you have a role now in the upcoming reincarnation of the online match?
So we were talking about this, and it's my understanding I'm going to be doing a little bit of commentary after each play, right?
That's right. So that's right. So we've gotten you in here as the new guest expert. You're following the footsteps of many great guest experts that we have, and we have a new opponent. So Neil Kazaros, who did this for 10 years and was just outstanding at it, he has retired from this position as the opponent in the online match, and now we've gotten Roberto Litzenberger, who will be the new opponent. So he's going to be the person on one side of the board, all alone, playing the entire USBGF membership. And so I think Roberto is going to be a great opponent. We'll be able to see some different ideas from him. Neil was great. I'm sure Roberto will also be really great with this.
Yeah, that sounds outstanding. I'm wondering, what was the feedback from the participants who were involved in playing this match?
People really enjoyed playing this match. They liked the idea that not only was it a backgammon lesson once per day, but it was a real match. Rather than, you might subscribe to a blog or a YouTube channel, and okay, so this YouTube channel says, okay, here's your position of the day, and this, who knows where they came up with this position, but you think about this position and then it disappears. Whereas with the online match, we're really following the progression of this match from one move to the next, and you can kind of get invested in, we want to try to beat Neil, okay, or now we're going to try to beat Roberto, and that's a very different concept than a lot of the things that you see. I did not invent this concept. I actually took it from Kit Woolsey's site that he used to run, and he ran something almost exactly like this concept. And so I borrowed it from him. And I think that the participants really liked and were invested in what was going on. And when you're participating in the online match, you do not need to play every day. If you miss a day, it's really no big deal. You step away, you come back, maybe a few moves have passed, but you can jump right in and cast a vote, even though maybe you haven't in a week. And a lot of people did that. I would estimate maybe half of the participants were, daily participants. They would cast a vote every day. And the other half, they would jump in from time to time, maybe half the time, maybe a third of the time, whatever. And I never thought it mattered very much. You participate whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting and interesting. So if people are interested in doing this, I know we're going to start it up soon. You post the position and then there's some choices that they can vote on, or how exactly does it work?
Yeah, so there'll basically be some, you'll see the position. This will all be on the USBGF website. You do have to be a USBGF member to participate. You'll be able to see this position, and then there'll be, a voting box at the bottom where you can choose which play to make. Do you want to, run a checker, or do you want to hit? And if your chosen move is not in there, then you can do a write-in and generate your own vote. And then a day later, there'll be a new position that we'll be voting on.
And you take a tally of all of them and
Right. So I'm the one that's behind the scenes. I'm doing all the tallying of the votes, seeing which vote won, and then communicating. I'll be communicating with you and with Roberto to keep these things running smoothly. And the participants won't see that behind the scenes stuff. And so I'll take care of all that so that it's all seamless for the people that are participating.
it seems like it's a lot of work for you. What's the average time commitment per day when you do that?
Well, we're rebooting this, so I don't know what it's going to be like in the new era. When I did this before, I might spend 15 minutes a day doing this, because I figured out a workflow with all of this so that it wasn't too bad. Some days more, some days a lot less. It just sort of depends on the nature of how the match was going.
I think this is a great way for people to learn, especially because they can learn from the experts and they can interact with other people.
Right.
Do people have the opportunity to explain why they select their choice?
Yes. So on the site, there will be a place where, if they so choose, in addition to casting their vote, by the way, will be anonymous. Nobody will know that what play you voted for. Now, I'll know because I'm doing the tallying behind the scenes, but publicly, any particular person's vote will not be known. But then there's a comment section where, after you've cast your vote, you could say, well, I did this and here's why. And then maybe somebody else can chime in and say, oh, yes, I agree with that part, but maybe we got to think about this also. And so we can generate a discussion about it. And that was something that we always used to have, and we're going to have that again. I do think the anonymity of voting is an important feature of the online match, because we want to think of this as a teaching environment, right? You can learn something out of this. And part of it is I want people to feel like they can cast a vote for anything. And listen, you're going to cast a vote for some huge blunders. That's okay. It's okay to get a backgammon position wrong. The real tragedy is if you don't learn something out of it. But we don't want to shame anybody. I don't want to be able to point fingers at somebody and says, "Oh, look at this person who made a triple whopper, and that's the vote that they cast." I don't want any of that, and so that's why the votes are anonymous. Now, it's going to come out the next day that there was a vote for this play that really wasn't very good, but we won't know who cast that vote. And I have made plenty of triple whoppers in my time, and I continue to make gigantic blunders over the board. It's okay. That's part of playing backgammon.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like a kindergarten, people making fun of each other.
Right. And in the history of the online match, I've worked very hard to make it an environment where people feel okay with you have to feel okay with making blunders.
Yeah, it's that's not a big deal, but I think that interactive aspect of it is very educational because one person may identify one aspect of the position that they feel is important, and another one may
Right.
comment on something different that the first person may not have seen or considered, and it just helps look at the entire position and see what's going on, and you can learn a lot that way.
And I'll share something else about, the historical results of this online match since 2012.
Yeah, let me share
Um,
it.
right. Yeah, share. You can share this data, and I'll explain what we have in here. This is historical data about the performance ratings out of XG of the USBGF member team over the course of the first 19 matches. And it averaged out to about 3, a little over 3. These are all 11-point matches against Neil. If you play at a PR of 3, you are an incredibly good player. There are a small handful of players in the world who can play at a level of 3 on a consistent basis. And I am not one of those players. I'm not close to that. As a matter of fact, I am pretty sure that most of the participants, if not all of them, do not play at this level. A 3 PR is Grandmaster level play, and among the best of the Grandmaster level play. We have historically in the online match have had players of all skill levels, from world-class players to beginners. We have many at all levels. And if you were able to know what the PR of each individual person was, it did not average to 3. That being said, doing this voting and using this collective hive mind to try to decide all of our moves, that as a collective, the USBGF members played at an extraordinarily great level of backgammon. And I think that's a really fascinating bit of the way that backgammon works. So as an example of how this manifests itself in the online match is when you're playing over the board, there are going to be times when you will simply overlook the right move, and you didn't even consider it. And then maybe you go over it later and you see that your bot that you're analyzing it said, oh, you made this terrific blunder, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that move when I was analyzing it, when I was thinking about it over the board. This cannot happen in the online match, because if 30 people are voting, you might get 2 or 3 people that just overlook the right play, but you will never get all 30 voters to just miss the right play and not even consider it. It's just not possible. And so for that reason, the team will never make a blunder of overlooking the right play. I think that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
And I didn't share the results of how Neil played, but Neil played at just an astounding level of play. I know that Neil, when he was working on this, he spent a lot of time on the online match, in the sense that when there was a position that was fairly difficult, he would really take his time. I know he would set up his board at home and he would look at variations, and he didn't consult a bot. He would just look at the position and think about the position very deeply. Since we're doing this at the pace of 1 move per day, he has plenty of time. He's not constrained by a clock in any way, not in any meaningful way.
Right. Well, that's great. So if the viewers are interested in participating, how can they go about doing that?
All right. Well, step 1, you do need to be a member of the USBGF, because this is going to be a member benefit. You just go to the USBGF site. We're going to be doing a little bit of marketing about getting this match started, and you'll be able to see it in the section where it says learn. There's sections on the site, learn backgammon, and that's going to be one of the things that you can choose to be able to find the match. And then once you're in, there'll be a group that you can join in, and you'll get email updates about, okay, here's a new move, time to vote, and then you'll be able to click that in your email, and it'll take you right to the right place to be able to cast a vote.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
It's not up there at the time of our recording here. You won't be able to find it so easily, but we're just days away from starting. And when we do, you'll be able to find it. So at the top there, you see play, learn, results. And if you go up to learn, it's so increase your skill. Okay, it'll be in there. It's not there right now, but by the time you watch this video, and we have done some updating to the website,
Right.
it'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wanted to make sure we show the website at least for people so they can familiarize themselves. It's
Right.
usbgf.org.
That's
Um,
right.
I'll put a link in the description so people can follow that and get involved. I think this is an outstanding opportunity for the members to participate and learn. And this is a outstanding contribution from you. So, I have to be honest and show my appreciation and gratitude for all the work you've done, because you say it's been 15 minutes a day, but this has been going on for 10 years. If you add that up, it's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time. I'm also, I do the rollouts of all the positions. So I've been keeping my computer busy for the last 10 years too, doing rollouts.
Yeah, that takes time. What kinds of settings do you use for the rollouts?
I typically do a 4-ply rollout. I feel like that's a pretty strong level.
That takes longer.
It does take longer, yeah, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I think so. Maybe we can explain that to the viewers about what a rollout is and what's the difference between the different types of rollouts.
Well, so to me, as a mathematician, how I think of a rollout is it's a Monte Carlo simulation. What you're doing is you're setting up a position and you're playing it many, many times. And the thing that the computer is good at is doing things quickly. In the old days of backgammon, before we had computers, a lot of very strong players would do manual rollouts of positions. What they would do is they would take a position, play it until it was over, and record the result, and then set up the position and play it again to the end and record the results. And after you play a bunch of these, you can start to see some trends about what happens with this. And so a backgammon bot like Extreme Gammon will perform rollouts, and you're simulating this game, and you're saying, well, what happens if I play this to the end? So you're trying to compare two moves. Maybe I make this move or make this move. And so the computer will take each one of those resulting positions and play them to the end and see how many times you win out of each position, and also gammons and things like that. And then there's different settings that you can use. There's 3-ply and 4-ply. And this just has to do with how hard is the computer thinking at each stage when it makes a move to the completion of the game. A 4-ply is a deeper look than 3-ply, so it's slower. You can't do as many trials, but the results tend to be a little bit stronger for each individual game. And there's a trade-off here between speed and accuracy. And people talk a lot about this stuff. I don't think too much about it. I just do the rollouts.
Yeah, I've done some studies on the different plies of rollouts, and in simple positions it's not a big deal, but when the positions are more complicated, then you do want the stronger rollout, which
Right.
takes a long time. I've
Does
done
take a long time, yeah.
hundreds of these 4-ply huge rollouts, and it's just
Yeah.
let it go overnight.
I imagine you had to do a lot of those for your back games book. I mean,
It,
if there's anything that's going to
yeah,
take a long time to do a rollout, it's of a back game.
yeah, there are, I think, over 500 positions, maybe more. There were hundreds of rollouts. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are over 500 positions in the book, but there are other things
Right.
that was rolled out. So that's one of the things that took the longest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Was
Yeah.
just to do. Fortunately, I was able to just kind of do it overnight.
Yeah.
But now I think I may need a new battery for my computer. That's the cost of these things. But it's fun. It's educational. I really enjoyed the online match. I'm excited to be participating in it.
Yeah.
It should be very exciting. So that's great. I think that's absolutely a great way to get more people interested in backgammon, involved, become members of the USBGF, because the USBGF membership has a lot of perks. What else do people get? Because they're contributing, they're going to get something out of it, right?
Right. So the online match is one of them. You have to be a member. There's other things on there. There's a lot of articles. There's videos that you can access. There's tournaments that you can play that are entirely online. You don't have to leave your home. Of course, playing in backgammon tournaments in person for me is the most fun thing to do. But I do not have the time to invest to go to a lot of backgammon tournaments. I feel fortunate if I can attend 2 or 3 a year, but they have lots of tournaments where you can play online, and there are various types of tournaments, and that's a member benefit. This is really great for me because I like to play these matches online. I'll analyze the matches afterwards, see how I did, and so that is a member benefit of organizing these tournaments.
Yeah,
Online
there are a
tournaments.
lot of tournaments. I remember you were saying you have some stories of tournaments you've been,
Yeah.
something interesting you'd like to share before we conclude. That would be great.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I played in my first ABT tournament in 2004. So that was the tournament run by Pat Gibson. This was June 24. And at the time, I was still pretty new at playing in-person backgammon, but I felt like, I think I'm up for a challenge. And I went ahead and entered the open division. I don't know that I necessarily recommend doing this to most people, but I said, I'm just going to do it. And I remember getting to the tournament and I saw a lot of these players that I had read about online. And I thought, uh-oh, what have I done here? Maybe I'm in over my head, but all right, I'm going to go for it. And so that particular tournament was a true double elimination tournament. So you lose a match, you go into the fighters bracket. And if you come out of the fighters bracket, then you're in the finals. And if you're in the finals, he had it set up, then you had to win twice to be able to win the tournament. Well, I lost my first match. I got creamed. It was like, 11-point match. Maybe I won one game. And that's when the doubt started to settle in. Oh, I think I'm in over my head. I almost never lost the rest of the weekend. I went on an incredible streak and I made it to the finals. This was ridiculous. You're not supposed to show up to your first ABT tournament and make it to the finals. And then what am I even doing here? I was out of my mind thinking about, I can't even fathom this. I played Wayne Jeffcoat in the finals. And so I had to beat him twice to win the tournament. At this point, I'm just happy to be there. So I'm playing what I'm hoping is the first match against Wayne. And I get down to the end and I'm crushing him at double match point. The race is I'm in great shape. And Wayne had to make one of those moves in the race where you set yourself up for the big doubles. And he needed to roll double fives and double fours. So he rolled double fives, took him off. And now he's shaking the dice to roll the double fours. And I'm getting up out of my chair because I'd like to stretch before we play the next match. And he pops out with the double fours. And I just stand up and I go, "Good match, Wayne. Congratulations." And Wayne said to me, "It's like you knew that was coming." So I took second place in that tournament. And afterwards, Pat Gibson was taking pictures, and Wayne Jeffcoat said to me, "You're in an awfully good mood for a guy that just got jokered out in the finals of a tournament." And I said to Wayne, "Are you kidding me? I'm so happy that I made it and won second place in my first tournament. This is ridiculous. I'm over the moon with this." It was such a great thing. The following year, I played in a lot of Pat Gibson's tournament. The following year, I did win an ABT tournament in LA. I have not won an ABT tournament since. So in my second year of playing ABT tournaments, I won an ABT event, and I haven't come back since to win one. That's kind of my goal now. I'd like to win one more. Here's another story I have. Another event that Pat Gibson liked to run was the John Vitor Invitational Cup down in San Diego. This was a very, very old tournament that dates to the 1960s and then was resurrected by John Vitor. It was John Vitor's father that originally ran this tournament. And if you look at the list of people that won in the 60s, it's kind of a who's who of old school backgammon. So I played in a handful of these, and they were all played at John Vitor's house in La Jolla. And in 2009, I showed up and I said to the people there, I said, "All right, when I win the tournament this year, I'm jumping in John's jacuzzi." So he had a jacuzzi there. And people are like, okay, yeah, very funny. So I did really well on Saturday, and then when I showed up on Sunday, I brought with me a change of clothes because I said I meant what I said on Saturday. When I win this tournament, I'm jumping in the jacuzzi fully clothed. Well, I won the tournament, so what did I do? I jumped in the jacuzzi completely clothed, and I had the foresight of having this change of clothes, and that was one of my great tournament wins. That was a lot of fun. And if I ever go back to playing the Vitor Cup again, and if I ever win the Vitor Cup, I'm jumping in the jacuzzi again. And then my last story is from this year. I had not played a lot of in-person backgammon in a while, partly because of the pandemic and partly because, my backgammon interest waxes and wanes. But back in May, I played in the Cherry Blossom tournament, and it was the first time I had played in an in-person event in about 4 years. And so I didn't have very many expectations. And I went 6-0 to start. And I was, this is incredible. I don't know what I'm doing here. And so that was on Saturday. Played all day Saturday, 6-0. And then the first thing on Sunday, I got to play John O'Hagan in a streamed match. I had never played in a match that was streamed online with commentary. Nick Blazier was doing the commentary. And so it's a little bit intimidating, but I go play. Anyway, I lost to John, and then I lost my next match, and so I was out. But I cast in fourth place. For me, a really terrific result. I mean, I was rolling out of my mind on Saturday, as anybody who can attest. When you go on a big streak in backgammon, you always feel like you're rolling well. Talk to anybody who wins a backgammon tournament and ask them, how was your weekend? And every single one of them will tell you, I was rolling amazingly well. I couldn't miss a shot. My opponents couldn't hit me. I feel like I played well, but really I got super lucky this weekend. They'll all say that. You can win a backgammon tournament without being a great player. You cannot win a backgammon tournament without being very lucky. And, one of the things I like about backgammon, it's this intellectual challenge. I enjoy the luck in backgammon. A lot of people don't really like the luck aspect of backgammon, but I like the luck. I feel like I'm a reasonably strong player, but I do not compare to the super great players. And without luck, I never would have beaten people like Falafel. I played Falafel once in a tournament, and I got lucky and I beat him. Joe Russell, former world champion, I beat him. In that tournament in the Cherry Blossom, I beat Chris Trencher and Roberto Litzenberger back to back. You don't do that without a little bit of luck, at least for me. Ray Fogerland, I've beaten him, another great player. And my favorite win of all time was at the Las Vegas Backgammon Club. I played the legendary Paul McGreal, who showed up and entered the tournament, and I beat Paul McGreal. And rest in peace, Paul McGreal. It's a great loss to the backgammon community when you passed away, but we're never playing again. And I'm 1-0 lifetime against the great Paul McGreal. I don't know. There's a lot of people that can say that. And I take that as a badge of pride. I can sit down against anybody in the world and at least have a chance. If I played Mochi once and lost, but I had a chance to beat Mochi. What were my winning chances? I don't know. Maybe I was 35% to beat Mochi. Great, I have a chance. If I'm playing competitive chess or Go and I'm playing the best people in the world, I do not have a chance. I'm going to get crushed, but not in backgammon. And to me, that's actually what I like about it. I've worked very hard over the years to sort of manage the emotional side of the game so that the swings of backgammon don't affect me as much. I try to treat each backgammon position like a math problem, and there's no luck in math. So if I treat it like a math problem and say, I just need to try to find the best play here and don't worry about what happened before, I think I'm going to play better. This is something that everybody still needs to work on. I still need to work on this. I'm not saying that I'm impervious to luck. Somebody will roll a great number and I will feel it. What happened? But I'm working on it. It's something that I think about and say, try not to let this affect you too much.
Well, that's great. So many outstanding stories. I definitely agree with you. A lot of this is what a lot of people tell me they enjoy about backgammon, that it is a combination of skill and luck. So you can play with anyone. So that's great. A lot of fun. Very interesting stories. I'm glad you were able to share with us all the information about yourself, of course, as well as the online match. And I'm excited to get started on that soon. By the time that gets up, this video will be posted. So looking forward to that. I appreciate your time, and I hope to have you again in the future. Maybe we can do some other videos. Do you have any final remarks before we conclude the video?
I just really want to say thank you, Alex, for taking on the role of the new guest expert in the online match. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that together we can use it to help make backgammon fun for a lot of people. I think this is just one more way with it we can bring more people in to play backgammon. So I want to thank you for that and for taking the time to talk to me today.
Great. It's my pleasure, and I absolutely agree with everything. Okay, well, thank you again to Jason, and thank you to the viewers for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. I will put a link to the USBGF and where you can go to the online match when the video is published. Again, my book, Backgammon, Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description to where you can get it. And if you're interested in lessons, please contact me via email. My email address is in the description. I look forward to seeing you in future videos. And until then, keep rolling your dice.